There was probably loads of stuff that I shouldn't have seen as a kid. The odd thing is, it's the stuff that was designed for me is the stuff that fucked me up the most. And like many YouTubers before me, I've decided to document them in a top 5 list of things that traumatise me, because it's most definitely cheaper than therapy. So here's a top 5 of the things that really rattled my jimmies as a child. I'm going to start with Ghostwatch, because it's Ghostwatch and it's the one that, when everybody asks us, is it something that I remember as a child, Ghostwatch normally comes to the forefront. Ghostwatch was a 1992 production from the BBC, which, as many people probably did remember, really f***ed me up. Craig Charles, famous for Red Dwarf and enjoying robots fight each other to the death, followed by businessmen fight each other to death.
Has that horse been drinking?
Was the host of the show, as well as Parkinson, who was so famous that we only really use his surname.
Ghosts really do exist.
And Sarah Green, who was the woman.
Well, good luck, and I'll see you later.
So Ghostwatch was them going to a house that was haunted by a poltergeist, like some sort of middle-class Scooby-Doo. As the show goes on, the hauntings sort of develop into first just, you know, little stones getting thrown, then a young girl is possessed. All this done by a ghost called Pipes, with a very clever name.
She'd say it's Pipes. Pipes is here.
Because he lives in the pipes. I'm going to remind you that during all of this, Parky,
Mike, what's happening?
which is what we call him in England, is just cozy at the studio, while Craig Charles and Sarah Green are just getting kicked out of them by a ghost.
I don't know what's going on.
Slowly but surely, the ghost starts taking over the house, and then he attacks the studio. This is where it gets real scary, because the weird thing is, it was broadcast in 1992. Now I was 2 at this point, and they've said they would never broadcast it again, which leads to 3 options. They lied and broadcast it again.
The hanky.
It was broadcast on a different channel, maybe, that's possible. Or a sadistic family member decided to show me this masterpiece of BBC. I want to call it cinema, but it's more of a frightening piece of media that me and other YouTubers have discussed is the most scarring thing ever shown on BBC. And even now, I can't bear myself to watch it. Still real scared of poltergeist stuff.
I was going to hit her. I was so mad.
The Charlie Says ads.
Charlie Says.
Charlie Says, or Charlie Says,
Charlie Says.
is a collection of ads from the 70s that I could only have seen because it must have been on VHS's of Watch with Mother, which is a whole different kind of worms that I should probably get into at one point or another, but not today. Charlie was a streetwise cat.
He said.
And I don't mean cat in the jazz terms, I mean a literal cat. He was a cat that imparted messages to a young boy.
Charlie's reminded me.
In this scary screeching noise that I think was meant to be a man replicating a cat noise. But just haunts my dreams. It's more like screaming. Although I have never got in a white van.
My mum says I shouldn't go off with people I don't know.
So maybe they did work. It's a cut and paste stop frame animation, kind of like South Park, but in the very early days of South Park. And even to this day, the incessant screaming makes the hairs on my arms stand on end. BeettleJuice isn't necessarily the film that scares me. It's the lack of film that scares me, which won't make sense until I explain it. I was, for a short period of time, something I hate to admit, I was a bit of a Tim Burton fan.
I myself am strange and unusual.
I like the Batman. I think it's the best Batman that's ever came out, maybe barring the newest one. The trauma is less about the movie and what I didn't see. When I first saw the film,
Sure, go ahead, shoot.
It was at my cousin's house. We were doing some sort of family get-together, and for some reason I was sleeping over there. He decided to put BeettleJuice on. Now, the problem is, he had a bed, obviously, and this is the 90s, where TVs were on the top of drawers for some reason. So he decided to put BeettleJuice on, and I didn't get to see BeetleJuice. I heard BeetleJuice, and for some reason, the sounds of BeetleJuice without the visual is infinitely more scary than the actual movie BeetleJuice. I've seen BeetleJuice since then. It's a good movie.
It's him, BeetleJuice.
What I did find frightening that night was the noises and the red and green flashing lights projected on the back wall. I couldn't actually physically see the TV, but I could hear the TV and see the after reflection of the TV. And my mind kind of filled in the gaps with these horrid images for some reason. And to this day, I'd probably say it's the scariest movie I haven't seen. Because I haven't seen that movie that played in my head. I've seen BeetleJuice, but that wasn't BeetleJuice that night. Which kind of proves Spielberg's right. The scariest stuff is the stuff that you don't see. Do I really need to talk about Return to Oz? All of it is a lucid nightmare of hellish proportions.
I remember nothing until you wound me up. Thank you.
The Wheelers, the witch that can just swap her head around willy-nilly. The chicken, that talking chicken. And the fact that at the beginning of the movie, the catalyst for it is the fact that they fry this small girl's brain. None of it makes sense to me as a child or an adult. It's an acid trip that I didn't sign up for, and even now, as a grown-ass man, the Wheelers haunt me. They wheel around in my dreams, chasing me down, haunting me, threatening to turn me into concrete. Although the moose sofa is pretty cool, and the Troll King is a cross-dressing legend.
No. My ruby slippers.
So it's not all bad, I guess. Why won't the Wheelers leave me alone at night? They chase me down like a fox. Although it's still a nice Christmas movie, even though it's not a Christmas movie. Swings and roundabouts. Goosebumps. Everybody's got a Goosebumps episode. Who can say is the scariest? I can. It's Say Cheese or Die.
It looks like a toaster.
Is this because I was like a photography kid? Possibly.
I think this thing's a camera. Cool camera.
And as most good Goosebumps episodes can be summed up, this can be summed up as just a simple sentence. A bunch of kids break into a lab and steal a camera. And when they take photos with it, it reveals their death.
Say cheese. Cheese!
Which feeds into both my biggest fears in life, which is knowing when I'm going to die and amateur photography. Like just look at some of these photos, they're awful. I don't actually recall how the episode ends. For some reason I think that they either break the camera or somebody drops the camera and they get sucked into the camera.
Where'd he go?
It's one of them two things. But that is literally the end of like 4 Goosebumps, so I could be just getting them mixed up. But it's definitely the first time that I've thought about my own demise, and that still haunts me to this day. And on the note of death, I feel like this might be a good place to end this video. Plus I said you got 5 and I give you 5, so don't be greedy. Sorry I've been away for so long now. I'm back, hopefully, and there'll be more content, probably more here than anywhere else. Because I kind of be missing doing this stuff, and hopefully it looks a bit nicer than before. So be kind. Rewind.
Release me! Release me!